Sir, thank you, sir. I rise to speak on the budget for my state, Karnataka, presented by the Honorable Finance Minister. Sir, you are aware that my state is under President's rule, and after the collapse of the coalition government last year, there is no popular government in office today. Therefore, the budget takes on an important responsibility of ensuring that the growth and development of the state does not stall, and at the same time addresses some of the key emerging issues. This is important, sir, because after the peaking of growth at 10.7% GSDP in 2004-2005, growth has tapered off in the state, subsequently to 7.5 in subsequent years. So the increased plan outlays and the increased allocations of the budget to the various sectors are welcome, and on behalf of the people of Karnataka, I thank the government for the same. So my colleagues, the MPs from Karnataka, have already discussed many of the issues of this budget in this house and the other house, so I'll be brief and to the point today. So my state has reasonable socio-economic indicators coming into this year in matters like health, education, electricity, and water. It is in the top quartile of all states. There is obviously, and it is accepted by everybody, a need for significant more investment in both health and education. And more importantly, sir, as I have stressed during my reply in the union budget, there is a need to ensure that the spending efficiency of the government of Karnataka is also significantly improved, if these outlays are to make any difference to the people who are to benefit from them. Unfortunately, sir, this budget makes no mention of this issue at all. And given that the Honorable Finance Minister and many members of the government have repeatedly referred to the fact that it is the state's malgovernance that is affecting the delivery of government spending and programs, it is very disappointing that this budget and the speech does nothing about the critical issue of efficiency of government spending. Sir, it's a well-known fact that my state's development over the last 5 decades or so has not been uniform or even. While parts of our state have progressed, many pockets of our state, like the Hyderabad-Karnataka region, today continue to be severely underdeveloped, with little by way of investments and job creation, and therefore, sir, with little hope of prosperity for the people of that region. The members of parliament of our state, cutting across party lines, have urged the government to give the region a special status, much in the same way as Vidarbha and Maharashtra and Telangana and AP have been. Our state legislature have already passed a unanimous resolution to this effect, and I would urge the government through the Honorable Finance Minister to move on this issue expeditiously so that the state, and in particular this region, can start seeing the fruits of economic progress that many other parts of the country are seeing. Yes, sir, this is the Article 371A special status, sir. So my state has a vast coastline and also many forest reserves on its borders with Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu. Both the coastline and these forests now pose a clear and present danger vis-a-vis security, terrorism, and Naxalism. The budget does not provide for, at least I don't see it, sir, for any special outlays towards the increased security and protection needs of our state, both in terms of terrorism and Naxalism. Sir, I would urge the union government to look into this issue and provide for both the conceptual and the financial support to the overall issue of coastal security and the conceptual and the framework for joint policing and task forces along the borders with the other states, and for increased funding to the modernization of our police forces in terms of technology and other tools. Sir, the House is already aware there is a long-standing demand from the people of my state to make Kannada a classical language and for renaming its cities to be more reflective of the historical identities and culture. Both these are pending with the union government, and I would urge the government through the Finance Minister to expeditiously clear the same. Sir, before ending, I would like to discuss infrastructure and Bengaluru. Sir, the union generates considerable direct and indirect taxes from our city, and Bengaluru is as much a city of India as it is a city of Karnataka. I am disappointed that the budget and the statement does very little about the infrastructure development in Karnataka in general and in Bangalore in particular. Sir, I would urge, sir, through the government, through the Finance Minister, that Bengaluru must be treated as a strategic city just as Mumbai has been, and I would urge a complete package for the infrastructure and urban development to make it a modern metropolis. The current and the unnecessary controversy of closing down an existing airport points to the lack of a coherent vision for infrastructure development and capacity development in our city. The lack of infrastructure capacity, sir, is fast becoming a bottleneck for growth, and I would urge that this issue be addressed urgently before it becomes a serious impediment for the growth in future years. I would urge the Union government, sir, to use this period of President's rule to draw out a comprehensive and practical plan for the city's development. This could be the blueprint for the future popular governments to follow, however short-lived or long-lived they may be. I look forward to the Finance Minister taking some initiative in this very critical issue. This is holding back development, as I said, sir, of Bengaluru and my state. Thank you, sir.